God, when I in awesome wonder consider all.
Hey, seriously? Can it, people? This is a true story about a road in a place called Judea. And this particular path leads to a village, Emmaus, which is about a 7-mile walk all the way to Jerusalem. You see, Jesus, a prophet, had been put on trial and convicted by the Romans a few days before. The crime? Unknown, really. The punishment? Crucifixion. Nasty business. Nailed to a cross and hoisted high on a hill. Now, most people believe that crucifixion leads to death from the wounds that you receive. Not so much. According to medical accounts, crucifixion eventually leads to, and I mean eventually, suffocation. Really not a pleasant way to go. Now, typically, this technique was reserved for the worst of the worst, as an example to all the people. And the soldiers added insult to injury as they formed together and they placed a crown of thorns on Jesus' head, mocking his title, King of the Jews. And then when they grew bored, they took a spear and they pierced his body to make for certain that it was finished. Now, it's been 3 days since Christ's crucifixion. The road, it's a dark and lonely place, unsafe, really. And as evening approaches, the temperature is beginning to drop. This is an awkward time. Keep in mind that Jesus was the expected one, the King of Kings. He was supposed to rule, not give up his life in a Roman execution. The disciples, they were shaken and scattered, their confidence at an all-time low. Think back to the last time you were at a funeral, wishing beyond all reason that this was somehow just a terrible nightmare, wondering, how can this be? That's the moment when life felt so temporary and so fragile. And so 2 travelers are walking this road, weary and disheartened followers on a journey from Jerusalem to Emmaus. And as they're walking, they're lamenting about the current events that have just taken place. Suddenly, a mysterious stranger joins them as they walk and says, "What are you talking about?" Cleopas, one of the men, smiles and says, "Are you the only person who's unaware of what has taken place in Jerusalem? How Jesus of Nazareth, a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, has been crucified? Our Messiah has been taken from us." This new companion listened intently to their words, and then he had had enough, and he began to school them. Amazingly, he opened up the scripture, and beginning with Eve, through Moses, Elijah, and all the prophets, he even began to gently chastise them for their lack of faith. When they arrived at Emmaus, they invited the stranger to dinner. In the middle, he took bread, and he blessed it, and he broke it, and he gave it to each of them. And at that moment, their eyes were open. It was as if it hit them for the first time, and they realized they had been walking and talking with Jesus this entire time, straight from the grave. In that moment, he disappeared from their eyes. Cleopas was so excited, he exclaimed, "Didn't your heart just burn within you while we walked on the road, while he talked with us and opened the scriptures?" Well, the dinner was over. At that moment, they began the journey back to Jerusalem. They ran the entire 7 miles to rejoin the other disciples and to celebrate together the fact that Jesus was alive. He is risen. Now, 2,000 years later, this is our road to travel, our story to tell.